What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. What is going on, everybody? Sunday Night Football has come to a conclusion, and the Baltimore Ravens crawl back to 500, eviscerate the Buffalo Bills. Anytime you get Mitch Trubisky in the game, because Josh Allen is just sat, it either means they're killing somebody or getting destroyed, and they got destroyed. So the Bills, we will talk about that decision in the third quarter. For an offensive coordinator who, let's face it, has been really good, there's going to be a lot of reactions. They haven't beat a good team yet. We talked to Stuckey last week, and listen, he's a gambling aficionado, and he loved the Ravens as a classic Ravens spot. And they took care of business, and Derrick Henry looked like Eric Dickerson, literally, as they said on the broadcast. But me and Colin went for a long, long time. We talked about a lot of the different games. Obviously, Sam Darnold looking like Joe Montana to the Jets situation. We kind of discussed it all, so you can check that out on YouTube on the podcast. And I'll try to hit on some things that we didn't hit on. And I'll do more of that over the next couple days for sure, but a little overrated, underrated, just ways to get certain things that I want to talk about in. And yeah, man, football, we got Alabama rolling. We got the Ravens. We got Deshaun Watson and the Browns. I mean, you talk about it. I'll save that one. Jayden Daniels, rookie of the year. I think he's a fair bet right now. That's for sure. He looks pretty. What a September for the Washington Commanders rookie quarterback. But before we dive into some football, I got to tell you about my friends. I almost said my friends, my family, my friends and my partners. Game Time. I've been saying for a while, going to Nashville here next week. And from Nashville, we're going to go to Dallas and go to the Oklahoma-Texas game, mainly because of my friends at Game Time. And Oklahoma, I was like, I just want them to be 5-1 going into that game against Arch. And they are getting killed by Auburn. And then all of a sudden, they had a miraculous comeback, a pick six. This little quarterback was making plays. But if you want to go to a game, like I'm going to go to a game, an NFL game, a college game, the baseball playoffs, I haven't even watched 9 innings of baseball this entire season, but I'll promise you this. I've been to enough playoff baseball games. Highly, highly recommended. Hell, I would go to one if there was one in my backyard. I think there might be, actually, the Diamondbacks I'd make the playoffs. But if you want to go to one, Game Time right now. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code JOHN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Let's go big picture on this game. I think there's 2 ways to look at it. My just thought coming into it, and clearly it was at halftime, was obvious where this was headed, is this was must-win territory for the Ravens. It's crazy they lost to the Raiders, being up 10 in the fourth quarter at home. But they did, and that's a huge reason they're 1-2. If they had come into this game being 2-1, it wouldn't have been the same pressure. But the Bills, rolling 3-0, had just, destroyed the Jags season. It officially ended today, but it unofficially ended last week. The Ravens had to win this game. And in fairness, and give credit to them, they showed up ready to kick ass and take names. Derrick Henry, right out the gates, 87 yards. Lamar in the first half was 11 of 13, a couple touchdowns, looking just peak MVP form. Their defense was flying around like Mike McDonald was still the defensive coordinator. That team that you saw in the first half was the version of the team that I put $5,000 on in the AFC Championship game. That's when the Ravens are good, they just blow you away. Their physicality, their team speed on offense, their running game, and then it kind of unraveled in the second half. Now, I still just the math. I thought Lamar would make enough plays. even as the momentum looked like it was on Buffalo's side, because let's face it, at any moment, Josh can make a play. And he did. He scrambled, and he was doing this all night with two defenders running at him and threw across his body 50 yards down the field to Shakir that just got them some momentum back. And it went from 21-3 to 21-10, and then they got the ball back. And listen, this guy has been excellent all season. He really has. I think he's easily been one of the best offensive coordinators. They kick Diggs to the Texans, and you bring in Coleman. You give Khalil even a bigger role. Obviously, you give Cooks even a bigger role, and their offense has been just eye-opening how dominant it's been. Tonight they were off early, but then once they got rolling, you're like, they're going to score again, and it's going to be 21-17, and it's on. Sometimes with trick plays, I was thinking about this after Josh Allen got utterly destroyed. I mean, he's very, very lucky he didn't have a concussion. 98 shoved him, and the violence in which Josh flew, I think sometimes we don't give the proper credit to how big these humans are. Like, if you just have a little kid and you kind of nudge them a little bit and they move, or sometimes with a dog or something, you realize I'm so much bigger or stronger. Josh Allen is like 6'5", 240 pounds. And that defensive lineman, right after Josh, Kyle Van Noy forced the fumble on one of the worst executed trick plays you'll ever see. Josh flew like he was 5'8", 150 pounds and hit the ground as hard as you're going to see. I mean, honestly, lucky he didn't get a concussion. And you just realize, like, first and foremost, the play call, when they work, you get a lot of credit. And when they don't, it's a disaster. It's like a high risk investment. It's what all these, when you hear about these venture capitalist firms, they're giving all this money to all these companies. The majority of them are never going to do shit. Now, the good thing for them is they don't care. All they got to do is hit one Google, one Apple, one Airbnb. And it's no different with these trick plays. When you hit them, everyone goes bananas. Now, I think the argument would be in that spot to try to do some like double handoff, reverse pass to, hand back off to Josh, throw deep down the field. You didn't need to do that. You were carving them up. You had, I know the number of elites hate this, all the momentum on your side. Like the Ravens were kind of looking around like, wait, are we really going to blow this? And this year, like they've had an issue with that. They've had big leads and given them up. So that play call ended the game. I mean, the moment that happened and he got destroyed, the game ended. Right, they went right down and scored. Lamar scored a touchdown, 28-10. Then the Bills are driving again, miss a field goal. They drive right down, score again. I mean, it was over. And listen, I'm not saying Joe Brady is the village idiot, but you can play Monday morning quarterback. I just think it was unnecessary. I'd understand if you needed a spark, right? You were doing nothing offensively. That to me is where trick plays, kind of really can, propel an offense, a unit to get something going, a team, right? You see it sometimes like trick plays on special teams. But in this spot, 21-10, you got the rock. Your quarterback looks like the MVP version that we've seen through the 3 weeks coming out of halftime. Your offense is humming, and you outthought the room. And I think sometimes these offensive coordinators, especially in a spot like that, and listen, they're calling it because they have studied it on tape, they've drawn it at practice, they practice it, and they get a look, and they think they can take advantage of. The problem when you get a team like the Ravens, who the version that we saw tonight, the way their defensive players were flying around, that felt a lot like 2023. And trick plays, when a guy gets penetration, you are fucked. No pun intended there. But once they get upfield and you got guys coming back and forth laterally, behind the line of scrimmage, and the quarterback's waiting on the ball, when I first saw Josh Allen laying there, my first thought was, did the fumble, did he blow his shoulder out or blow his elbow out? Luckily, he just got rocked and had to shake it off. But That to me might be the biggest disaster play call so far of the season. And listen, it's happened to everybody. Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Mike Holmgren, Mike Shanahan. There is not a coach worth his salt who's a play caller over the years that doesn't have one they'd like to have back. I do think there's a difference though of like, it was 3rd and 3 and we called like, a toss sweep and God, I'd like to have that one back. You're like, yeah, it happens. And another when you're like, it's 21-10, we're driving the field and we do that trick play in that spot, which leads us to get our quarterback annihilated and a turnover, which leads to a touchdown and ends the game. It just doesn't get any worse. So props to the Ravens for coming out and just dominating that game early. I'm a big believer, like the Bills were playing real football to get back in the game, right? Because 21-3, once you score, it's an 11-point game. But some of these games, right? Minnesota's up 28-0 yesterday in Alabama. When you get a 4-score lead in the second half, I don't put the same value when the other team starts coming back. You don't call the same way defensively. Players are human beings. You're not covering the same way. You're actually being much more conservative. There's so much you're just keeping in front of you, giving up easy completions. Some of these big plays just happen. They're just throwing the ball up. I mean, Carson Beck must have had 200 yards worth of 50-50 balls. Jordan, I don't know what to truly put on a huge comeback in like a fourth quarter when you're down several scores. To me, it's not the same as playing well early in the game being tight. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So the Bills had an opportunity to do that, and they obviously got away from after the trick play. To one guy that is fascinating is Derrick Henry on the Ravens because it's weird. He had that fumble at the goal line after the game was already over. When I look at Derrick Henry, I go, he's not an ideal goal line short yardage back, despite being one of the biggest humans to ever play the position because of how, erect he is, how tall he stands straight up. And that's a huge target zone for a defender. But do you know what makes him pretty special? Is like a Shady McCoy or a Barry Sanders, or I saw Saquon today making an incredible juke. Their wiggle, their change of direction is, a very, very strong attribute because if I'm tackling you in a hole and you can make me miss, I'm just diving and catching air. Derrick Henry is stiff, meaning like he's not, I wouldn't say he's got much wiggle, but he has elite feet. So while he's not the most fluid guy in the hips when it comes to a running back, his feet, his patience, and his vision are so good that he can like move while being straight up, all because of his feet, even though his body's not really moving. It's got to be one of the most unique watches I've ever seen at that spot. And the other thing that he has for being such a massive man is elite high-end speed. So once he gets rolling, he's like faster than everybody else. But when you watch him run, he doesn't look that fast. And listen, how this is going to work over time, to me, the way to get Derrick Henry going is you got to commit to give him 20 to 25 carries. And it worked tonight because he got going on the big play early. But overall, will Baltimore commit to that when it's not going well early? Because that was a thing Tennessee always had in their back pocket, is they would never give up on him. They would just keep hammering him no matter what, right? So once he hits a big run early, it's easy to commit to him. What happens if in the first half he's got 17 yards on 12 carries? I feel like that happened a lot in Tennessee. Tennessee, to me, treated him a lot like the Lions when I was a kid treated Barry Sanders. We're going to give it to him, and we're going to give it to him again. And then when you think we're going to do something else, we're going to give it to him more. We don't care what the stat sheet says. He could have 7 yards on 23 carries. That 24th might go for 80. And we win the game. And, I think Baltimore still got to feel that out because one thing you saw tonight is like he still is really, really skilled. Like he still got it because the speed and on that big run, just some other runs, just his feet, his patience, his vision. It's just you can't teach that. It's to me, it's not a teachable skill at running back. I think most of these kids you see, I've watched high school recruiting film. The sweet running backs were usually good in college and then again in the pros, as long as they had the size and the speed. But Derrick Henry, man, Hall of Famer. Okay, let's do some props to the Ravens. 2-2. And when they play like that, they're clearly right there with the Bills and Chiefs as best teams in the AFC. I love touchdowns. Tutties, taken to the house, in for 6. I call them tugs. Whenever you call a touchdown, one thing's for sure. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. On the ground, in the air, special teams or defense, we do not care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something as simple like picking a player to score a touchdown or how many touchdowns will be in a game. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Ready to do a touchdown dance on your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code JOHN, J-O-H-N. That's code JOHN. New customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's do a little overrated, underrated from the weekend, and let's just fire through some things. Overrated. I've been hearing about this for years, is like how talented the Browns are. And there were times last year where when everyone's healthy, you'd be like, damn, Chubb, Myles Garrett, their DBs, the offensive linemen. I feel like half those guys have been hurt over the last 6 months. At the end of last year, obviously right now, they look like a shell of themselves, and they can't score 20 points. They cannot score 20 points. You couldn't write, like, I haven't seen any of their post-game press conferences of Deshaun or Stefanski, but if you're in the NFL and they still had Judy out there, Amari Cooper out there, the running back there rolling out's not terrible. I don't give a shit who your offensive lineman is. If you're paying that much for your offensive skill guys and your quarterback, in one of 4 games, you should be able to muster up 20 points. To lose to the Raiders, who are missing Max Crosby and Devontae Adams, their best 2 players by a mile, but specifically Max Crosby, I don't even know what to say. I can't even imagine being a Browns fan. And, having to watch the P. Diddy of football and just watch that offense play. It's just, fuck, feel for you guys. Because I know you guys are passionate. Know you guys love the Brownies. But your team sucks. I've never been a huge NFC South guy, though I do enjoy watching Baker. I've enjoyed Matt Ryan and Julio, Sean Payton, Drew Brees. But that's just... if I'm ranking my divisions, if I wasn't doing this for a living and I was just going to watch one game and I had options of like 7 different games going on, it would typically be toward the bottom. But that Falcons New Orleans game today was pretty intense. I think both quarterbacks can be a little underwhelming. Both coaches can leave a little something to be desired. But there was a lot of talent on that field, man. And the 2 defenses, it was hard hitting. The stat they gave during the game, that it was 55-55 in the history of this rivalry. I think you guys get overlooked a little bit because your college football rivalries are so much better. But like Alabama, Georgia last night, I would say felt as big as any NFL game I watched today beside the Ravens and Bills. And bigger than like the majority of them. Because your college football is so huge. But Falcons, New Orleans, man, I think Cousins, I think he's solid, but I think the expectation, your guys' defense is good. For whatever reason, Kyle Pitts has just been MIA since you drafted him. But Bijan is such a stud. It's going to be fascinating to watch the way this division plays out because Tampa, when Baker's on, their offense is potent. I mean, Godwin and Mike Evans. How good is that tandem? I'm not giving up on my New Orleans Saints to win the division, let alone to make the playoffs. But these last couple weeks didn't help. I mean, we couldn't win today. I couldn't believe when they called. I feel like I'm a Saints fan after gambling on them for the futures. But that pass interference and the kid kicks the 58-yard field goal, which is the longest field goal made in the history of Arthur Blank's iconic stadium. I'm sure he'd tell you that. I think it's been, open for less than 10 years. But props to the Falcons. That was a big win. Overrated. I'm not to beat a dead horse on this one because I don't even know what is left to say. But I wasn't super locked into this game, partly because I just assumed, I just assumed if you're like, what would you bet? I'd be like, I don't know, bet whatever's in my account as the game's going on that the Texans were going to win. If you just said, who's going to win this game, regardless of what the score was. And the Jags were up at multiple different times with the ball, in the second half. I would have been like, Texans are going to win this game. What happened? With I think under a minute, CJ Stroud, touchdown, game winner. Trevor Lawrence didn't sniff 200 yards passing today. I just, everyone can blame Doug Peterson, and I'm sure he's going to get blamed. Who knows? By the time you listen to this, maybe he's already been fired. Maybe he makes it to Halloween. Maybe he makes Thanksgiving. I just think you either can make plays or you can at a certain point. I'd say the same thing about Deshaun Watson. If you're taking a step, can you just make a play besides just the most basic plays? You're making all this money. Steph Curry isn't just getting paid to make bounce passes or LeBron James to get a rebound. It's because all the spectacular shit. And Trevor Lawrence does none of it ever. I mean, ever. He's still living off 2 years ago a Brandon Staley playoff game, which part of the reason they were down, I think 27-0 or whatever at halftime, because he had thrown 4 interceptions in the first half. And while it was an incredible comeback, partly because all of us that like to make fun of Brandon Staley, it was just, it couldn't have just shaped out any better. Half the guys on his big passes were wide open because Brandon Staley's defenders didn't know the play calls. That's why the game was so funny. It's no one knew what was going on. So it wasn't like he was carving them up like he was Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think he's the most overrated player of all time. Underrated. I mean, this guy last year was dropping his kids off at school, was sitting on the couch, eating popcorn like I just did during the Sunday night game. Feet up, just hanging, being a family man. Had made, 9 figures, and he had an incredible life. I was like, you know what? Life's good, man. I won a Super Bowl with Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. No one even wants me in the NFL anymore. Then he gets a call, bails out the Browns, leads them to the playoffs. Today, Anthony Richardson, you know what's not overrated or underrated? Sliding. I have no sympathy for these guys that get major injuries on plays that were 100% avoidable. I feel sympathy for Tua's head. I don't want him to go into the fencing position. But that should not have happened on that play. Anthony Richardson gets a hip pointer, hip messed up, or who knows. Whatever they're telling you, it feels they're probably downplaying it. All he had to do was just hit the ground. This is not college. This is not high school. I don't care how big the guys on the other team look. They will fuck your world up. They will break your bones. They will put you on injured reserve. This may not be the 70s, 80s, or 90s, but these guys will still hit you and hurt you. And Anthony Richardson, no different last year. It's what are we doing? I want to be a fan of his. I want to watch the Colts and him play. And then on the play that he gets injured, I was like, what does he think's going to happen? It reminds me so much when I was with the Eagles with Michael Vick. It's oh, you're just going to get broken in half. And Vic's what? Smaller than Anthony Richardson, but like broken ribs, broken spleen, collarbones, hip pointers, broken bones that you've never even heard of, that you have to read some doctor on Twitter to be like, yeah, this rare bone break. It's like, yeah, you gotta slide. I have no problem. Like the game has changed. We're not going to see as many guys sit in the pocket and just play that way. But like if you're gonna run around and not get to the sidelines, like one thing Rodgers is pretty good at, he sees a sideline, he just runs right to it. And some guys obviously still do that, but if you're running basically between the numbers, you got to get down. So Joe Flacco saves their day, throws a couple touchdowns, probably end up saving their season. Who knows? Maybe they'll be better. Just overrated. This season has not been great for Jordan Love. He was not very good in the first game. He had a bad interception. He obviously got injured. Then he comes back. Today he wears a Brett Favre jersey to the game. And he throws 3 interceptions. And they were pretty bad interceptions. And I just, I don't know, man. I respect football because when guys can play, they play. And we give the NBA so much shit. So many people, they've lost half their audience in 7, 8 years because people turn on the game and guys just aren't playing. And they're healthy players. But I'm like, yeah, just a little injury prevention. That's the opposite in football. Obviously, healthy guys never miss a game, and injured guys play in every game all the time. Like, if you're not playing in the game, you're like legitimately hurt. And this guy worked hard to get back. I probably would have sat him today the way Malik Willis was playing. I mean, are you going to beat the Vikings with Malik Willis? Probably not. But there were some plays in that game where he was kind of limping around, getting hit. Flores bringing guys all over the map. I mean, Flores has blitzes and players coming from every angle possible. He just looked off. And I know LaFleur said by the end of the game he looked better. And I get it. It's about the big season. You got to get him reps. Practice is a joke now in the NFL. But this season has been weird so far for Jordan Love. It really has. After getting a ton of money, after the way his season ended last year, which was incredible. I think it was 18 touchdowns, 1 interception to not just win a playoff game, to look like he did against the Cowboys. He played pretty well against the 49ers, but 3 interceptions today, rough. Underrated. I don't think people quite realize how good this guy is. I was watching him today. I'm like, this guy's got a chance to be one of the best receivers of all time. I'd even include just, I think we underrate how unreal Ed Ogeron's 2019 LSU Tigers were. There was a play this morning where Jamar Chase takes just like a random, I think it was like a slant route or an in route, in traffic, bounces off like 3 guys, runs around the entire defense, takes to the house. Then there were a couple plays. I got, 8 boxes in my house. Too many games going on in the morning slate, and I'm trying to watch them all, take notes. Listen, I'm not, I don't want anyone to feel bad for me. People are probably trying to do it too. It's just hard to keep track of everything. Look at the Minnesota Packer game and every other play. Jefferson is just making some acrobatic catch across the middle, the touchdown, one hand against his body. That team, the skills that those guys have. I mean, Jordan Addison, big time talent. Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson truly is like an all time great talent. Uh, he's got a chance to go down as one of the truly greats. And hey, when you play with Sam Darnold, the ceiling's the roof. Overrated. One of the biggest stories last week was UNLV and this kid named Sluka. And most of the media immediately, they don't even need to get the facts of the story. We'll just go school, capitalism, bullshit, pay the kid. It's like, I remember right when it was going on. Everyone, all these different stories and people reports, you couldn't even keep track of everything. All I know is several days later, UNLV told the kid to kick rocks. Told him and his dad, we ain't paying you shit. On Saturday, they played Fresno State. They won 59-14. I had some money on the game. It sucked. because it was over 5 minutes into the game. The quarterback that they rolled out accounted for 4 touchdowns, 3 in the air and 1 on the ground. The wide receivers after the game, who have obviously playing with Sluka, the kid that wanted 100K that they refused to pay, said, let's rally that money and give it to the offensive line. So one thing's pretty clear is the team, the administration, the coaching staff, and most specifically the players didn't give a shit that this kid didn't get paid, quit on them, and left. And I'll tell you this, I watch a lot of college football. This team's pretty good. And I think there's a decent chance. They got Syracuse this weekend at home in Vegas. And they get Boise at home as well. And Boise's running back might be at the Heisman. He won't win the Heisman, but he'll be there with the other players. He's having a incredible season. I think he has like 13 touchdowns already in 4 games. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility UNLV's in the playoffs. I really don't. Watching that team, their defense elite, their offensive skill guys, Barry Odom coaching the SEC. Yeah, them versus Boise's, they got a good chance. Underrated, the Bucks passing game and just the Bucks in general. I sometimes when some of these coordinators that I don't think are good enough head coaches, I'm like, just dominate, be a coordinator. Todd Bowles done a pretty good job. I think Todd Bowles is kind of finding his groove. And maybe it's just they got good players, clearly. Obviously, the passing game with Evans and Godwin. Sterling Shepard was making some plays today. Vita Vea's a monster. Baker he looks better than he used to. He really does. He definitely looks slimmer and faster. His arm's always been explosive. He's got a pretty good rapport with these guys. He's got a really good rapport with these guys. The Bucks, man, no one really pays attention to them until they play in kind of like important games. If they'll just be playing like the Panthers or whatever, it's like they're playing the Eagles. Like I gave that game sound. Now part of it was Tom was on the call. I wanted to hear him, and he was fine. But that was an ass kicking. I mean, they have beat the Eagles to smithereens twice in the last like 5 games. Played them in the wild card round and then played them today and killed them. Overrated. Georgia. Some of these teams, man, they play nobody and they just kind of keep the momentum of what they once were. And it just kind of grows on itself. Like, oh, Georgia hasn't lost a regular season game in 3 years. Oh, Georgia, all these NFL guys. Oh, Georgia, #1 pick at quarterback. And you're like, okay, I'm going to start kind of watching Georgia because last year, basically none of their games counted until it did against Alabama and they lost. And then first couple games of the season, complete joke. I mean, Clemson was impressive. I'll give them that. But they housed them and the second half didn't matter. And then you're watching them against Kentucky. You're like, what's going on here? I always give college kids, I give football teams in general a pass. You're allowed to have bad games. Obviously, in the NFL, you're allowed more bad games than college. But if you go 12-5, most teams are locked to win their division. That means probably 3 out of your 5 losses are not going to be great. 2 of them might be blowouts, right? And in college, if you go 9-3, yeah, you're going to have some rough losses. But watching Georgia against Alabama, Mel Kiper has his kid #1. Everyone's slurping Carson Beck. I really don't have an opinion. Thought he was solid last year. Obviously, the game against Clemson looked okay. Tall, can move, decent arm. In that first half against Alabama, it was embarrassing. It was the lights were the brightest. Everyone was watching, and he just melted. It was like, listen, I'm not going to write your entire career based off one game, but I just watched you against Kentucky. You also look terrible. And then in this moment where the other team has a really good quarterback too, he freaking looks like Josh Allen, and you crumble like a cookie before halftime. And everyone's going to go, well, look at his final numbers. Nothing. And I mean, I said this on Twitter. I said this to Colin. Nothing means less than me or to me in terms of like the football play. I give him mental toughness credit. He didn't mail it in. He didn't tap out. He didn't quit. He didn't fold. He kept swinging. So I appreciate that. But throwing 50-50 go balls down the sideline, that's not Sundays. That's not like most Sundays all game within a score. You're not just throwing go balls. You're throwing slants, you're throwing outs, you're throwing deep ins, like you're throwing normal routes. They came back with him just throwing the ball up. So from an NFL prospect perspective, it's irrelevant to me. I came away thinking I don't view the guy as a first round pick. Underrated. I said this last week. It was one of my favorite bets. I'm a believer in this offense because of their talent. Now, I'm kind of a believer in their coach. When I was at Fresno State, Coach Hill was pretty crazy, and he would start practice over all the time. Let's face it, throughout the year, training camp, but even during the season, you just get some practices. People just aren't paying attention. Hell, half the coaches aren't even that into it. And sometimes you just hear a whistle and you'd hear about 7 F-bombs, and he would just say, start it over. One time, there wasn't even pads on. It was supposed to be an unpadded practice on like a Thursday or something. Might have been a Wednesday. Sent everyone back in the locker room like an hour into full pads. We scrimmaged. And I saw Dion this week canceled practice in the middle of it and restarted it from the very, very beginning because he was embarrassed by the effort. And Saban said something this week on TV that sometimes the worst wins or the worst moments as a coach are when you play terrible and win because all the guys thinking like, we're good, we won. And that happened 2 weeks ago against Baylor. Colorado got very lucky to win that game. Obviously, Shedeur threw a Hail Mary to get him to overtime, and then Travis Hunter forced a fumble on the goal line to win the game. They went to UCF and won 48-21. 48-21. That's an impressive victory. It really is. So the Colorado Buffaloes are 4-1. Travis Hunter's I would say the heavy leader to be the Heisman winner if it was over today. And Shedeur, I mean, based on talent, obviously, I people are saying like, what about his personality? Yeah, he tweeted at a former teammate, which bad look, but he's 20, 21 years old. Like who I promise you this, when the dust settles, if that's the worst that he's got in his skeleton in his closet, no one really gives a shit. Overrated. Jacoby Brissett. Not him. I think we all know he's properly rated. I think it might be overrated to get paid $10 million to just get the living shit kicked out of you. Like if you were a boxer or a UFC fighter, or like I'm fighting Conor McGregor or Tyson in his prime or Holyfield, like I get in the ring, even if I'm going to lose, I'm going to get throttled. I'll get KO'd. I'll get my payment and I'll be done. If you're Jacoby Brissett, $10 million is a lot of money, obviously. You are getting absolutely killed every week. There were a couple times a day where, and I don't usually do this, but you're just kind of holding your breath. Like, is he going to get up? Is he okay? He is getting throttled. He's not a great athlete. It's not like he can move. He's an old school pocket quarterback. His offensive line is putrid. The Niners, they were not alone. The Jets did it last week. It's going to happen. I just don't think it's like, when's it Drake May? You cannot. Drake May would. It's not safe. It is not safe. But think what that means. So it's not safe for your rookie quarterback, but it's safe for this like 30-year-old who are paying $10 million to just get killed. It's basically his job. When someone asks him 30 years from now, like, what did you do in 2024 in the NFL? Be like, I got paid $10 million to be on the worst team in the NFL to just get my ass kicked every week. It didn't matter my completion percentage. They didn't care if I threw touchdowns. They just wanted me to complete the game 17 times. So the rookie could just sit there and watch me. Underrated. Fred Warner. He is, I think he's easily right now the best middle linebacker in the NFL. He's just, what makes any player elite is a complete game. And at linebacker, you got to do two things, right? You have to play the run. So that means between the tackles, then outside the tackles. So you got to be really physical to be a between the tackle player. because you got to shed blocks, you got to play downhill, you got to take on the 5 offensive linemen. And then to be a great lateral player, you have to have incredible instincts and incredible quickness, which is considered range in the NFL. He obviously checks those boxes. And then in pass defense, it's like a combination of your athleticism plus your instincts. He had an interception today that I don't think was a terrible throw by Jacoby. This guy's just so long. He picked it off, gets up, and runs it back for a pick six. He is, I know Nick Bosa, and Nick's a really, really good player, but the best player on the team, or excuse me, the best player on the defense is Fred Warner. And I would say I haven't seen every single player this year. Obviously, TJ Watt's been a fucking maniac. And there's been some other high end defensive players, but there can't be 2 or 3 players in the NFL playing better and definitely as well as Fred Warner for the Niners, because that game was kind of a scrimmage. The Pats, you convinced me they don't win another game. I mean, it's the NFL. They'll probably end up winning like 3 games total. But he looked like a man amongst boys out there before I think he got injured, but I don't think he was like that injured. But they're like, yeah, just you're not going to come back. He just didn't play the second half, but he's on the sideline. He speaks in the press conference after. Everything was normal. I think Kyle's like, yeah, we're not losing this game. That's I don't feel for Pats fans because you guys had an incredible 20-year run, but that team's a rough watch.